Is GTA 6 going to be the last Grand Theft Auto game ever made? We'll be talking about that and more all in this video today. And this is coming from the parent company of Rockstar Games, Take-Two Interactive, and their CEO and chairman Strauss Zelnick, who traditionally after their earnings calls, which happened last week, he goes on and does a handful of various interviews, and we also see some even TV things come out. And that's where I want to actually start. Now, we'll get to where he talks about Grand Theft Auto 6 being the final GTA game in a little bit, but on this TV interview, which he did on CNBC, while he doesn't specifically mention Grand Theft Auto 6, he does sort of double down on the fact that they've got a great pipeline coming out over the next year, and that they anticipate making record amounts of money, essentially. Take a listen to this right here.
Well, we're really an organic growth story going forward for at least the next couple of years. We've already said that we expect to have sequential growth in fiscal 26 and 27 and to set new records.
A lot of your time still thinking about game development. Isn't that what you still need to do?
Oh, absolutely. I spend most of my time thinking about how we're going to create the next hit.
That hasn't changed at all.
No, of course not. We need to be a hit-making machine. That's our job.
And they don't come out at the same time. I don't know any of these things. Who's Borderlands 4? Is that you or is that somebody else?
That's ours.
That's you, but you don't want to bring it out at the same time as Grand Theft Auto.
Well, we wouldn't stack up major releases either of ours or of anyone else's, and the industry's pretty good about moving around release dates accordingly. But Borderlands 4 comes to us from Gearbox, which is a company we just acquired a few months ago.
What about distribution? That has to be a big part of how you think about things, too.
It is. To be a competitive entertainment company, you obviously need the creative part. You also need marketing and distribution, and you need to field that worldwide. That's why it's sort of left to a handful of big companies really to compete in entertainment. So we have marketing and distribution second to none. That said, our big competitors do as well. It's not unique.
So again, although Strauss Zelnick doesn't say, hey, GTA 6 is coming out on October 26, 2025, he does double down on the fact that they are set to have an amazing couple of fiscal years, even mentioning fiscal year 25 and fiscal year 26, which would be the prime and the height of Grand Theft Auto 6 releasing and coming out. So to me, this gives off good vibes like we got on the earnings call, that there isn't a delay yet, and that as things currently stand, it looks like things are still set to arrive in fall 2025. Now, while all that talk is great about potentially the next Grand Theft Auto game getting here on time, unfortunately, it might be the last Grand Theft Auto game, especially at the rate it's taking Rockstar to get these titles out the door. It really might be the final game. And this stems from a question that he actually answered on the Take-Two Interactive earnings call. I don't think many have actually been discussing this quite yet. We have talked about a few of the questions that he was asked, like his response to Grand Theft Auto 6 being on the Xbox Series S and how he believes that's really not going to be a big deal. Rockstar Games are great at that sort of stuff. But I don't think many people have talked about this. It comes from Eric Sheridan of Goldman Sachs, who said, thanks so much for the questions, maybe two if I could. First, just following up on the last question, obviously moving beyond just NBA broadly, any updated views about the way you're thinking about the intersection between sports and gaming as a long-term opportunity, and that whether that would be an area where incremental capital and incremental investment in the business to grow the IP portfolio over the longer term based on what you're seeing in the market. And then I know we spoke earlier on the call about the consumer landscape. But in the last year, we've spoken about whether the consumer was receptive or not to new IP as opposed to legacy IP. Have you seen any shifts in consumer behavior with respect to openness towards experimenting with newer titles as opposed to more legacy titles that might inform some of how you position IP going forward? Thanks. And so Strauss Zelnick says this, I think there's some selective opportunity. But the footprint is big enough now, and the growth opportunities are great enough now, that even working on what we have given us plenty to do with plenty of opportunity leavened by great optimism. In terms of your question about new intellectual property, we're different than a lot of other big companies. It's tempting for a big company to rest on its laurels. We have a lot of intellectual property. We know that if we put out a sequel, it's a low-risk proposition than new intellectual property. But everything degrades. And even though most of our franchise sequels tend to do better than the prior release, and we're really proud of that because that's not the standard for the industry, the truth is there's a thing called delay and entropy, and it's a feature of physical and human life and everything that exists on Earth. And so ultimately, everything does decay, including hit titles. So if we're not trying new things and making new intellectual property, to say that we're resting on our laurels really understates it. We're really running the risk of burning the furniture to heat the house, and that does not end well. Going on to say, it does mean the risk profile is higher. It does mean that when we get it wrong, and we will get wrong now and then, we take a hit, and that affects our operating margins. But in the fullness of time, which he loves that phrase, by the way, it's one of the key ways to create durable value. And to be clear, if we have not been willing to create new intellectual property when we showed up 18 years ago, when the risk profile of this enterprise was vastly greater than it is today, well, then none of us would be sitting here today, and you wouldn't be listening to this call. That's just the fact. So essentially what Strauss Zelnick is saying here is that you can't just keep making Red Dead Redemption and Grand Theft Auto over and over again, which is kind of the way that Rockstar has been trending really over the last 2 decades or so. I mean, if you think about it, outside of Max Payne 3, it's been Grand Theft Auto 4 and its 2 DLCs, The Ballad of Gay Tony and The Lost and the Damned. Then you've got Red Dead Redemption and its DLC, Undead Nightmare, followed by Grand Theft Auto and GTA Online, and then Red Dead Redemption and Red Dead Online. And we know that the next title that's going to be coming out is Grand Theft Auto 6. And for me personally, those are my 2 favorite Rockstar Games titles. So the fact that they're just continuing to make them is fantastic. But Strauss Zelnick feels that that is not the way forward, and that can actually be a bad thing long term. So with how long it's taken to develop Grand Theft Auto 6, how long it's going to be taking it to actually get out the door, will this be the final Grand Theft Auto game? In a way, I could see it being, yes, the final one, but there's also still so many opportunities for Rockstar to explore different parts of the world or different stories. And on top of all of it, they're going to be making a boatload of money. If you thought GTA 5 and Red Dead Redemption made a lot of money for them, Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to blow things out of the water. So is it going to be impossible for them to ignore the massive profit that they're going to be getting from Grand Theft Auto 6 getting here when they know that if they make another one, it'll probably make even more money? It feels crazy to think about. And so deep down, it's hard to say, yes, this will be the last Grand Theft Auto game, but it certainly does feel like it could be the last one for a very long time, especially if the multiplayer of GTA 6 is something that takes off and is something that lasts for another decade or possibly more, just like GTA Online has done. And so if you guys are interested, I'll leave a link to a transcript of the call in the description. I think the other way to access it is if you actually listen to the call, which I know some of you would prefer to just read it. And there's a couple of other questions that are asked by analysts where they might mention Rockstar, they might mention Grand Theft Auto 6, but they don't actually bite on anything, nor do they tell us anything interesting. And so as I've combed through the entire transcript, that's really all that I found to be of interest that I wanted to talk about in this video. But let me know what you think in those comments down below. Do you think Grand Theft Auto 6 will be the final Grand Theft Auto game made by Rockstar, or do you think they're just going to continue to pump them out? GTA 7, GTA 6, etc. Let me know what you guys think in those comments down below. I'd love to hear from you guys down there. If you guys did go on and enjoy this video, though, a like rating would, of course, be awesome. And be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new. You want to stay up to date on all the GTA 6 videos that I'll be doing here on my channel. And be sure to ring that notification bell as well. Sometimes YouTube just doesn't work, and if you ring that bell, you'll always be guaranteed to be notified when new videos arrive. But of course, as always, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Take care. And I'll see you guys in the next video.